Watching Sky News, let's take a look now where exactly trouble has flared. In London, the worst of the violence was in Croydon, in Clapham, in Ealing, Hackney, Peckham and Enfield, all parts of London really. There was some trouble too in other parts of the capital. Police called in with sporadic disturbances as well in Kent and in the West Yorkshire city of Leeds. The worst violence outside London, though, seems to have been in Bristol, Nottingham, Liverpool and Birmingham. The Deputy Prime Minister Nick Clegg has been there today to meet victims of last night's violence. 30 buildings attacked, more than 138 people arrested following rioting by what police described as a greedy crowd. Let's get the very latest on that region from Sky's David Crabtree.
Don't you think you're a bit too late?
The Deputy Prime Minister suffered an unfriendly reception as he surveyed the damage in Birmingham. He added his voice to calls for calm.
I spent 15 minutes walking around, spoke to lots of shoppers, lots of local residents. I'm never going to apologise for getting out there and speaking to people and talking to the victims of this needless violence.
Faces of those alleged to have spread the troubles to Britain's second city. Part of a tough stance from the Chief Constable, who will show and shame alongside what he calls a more robust arrest process should Birmingham face more looting and destruction.
This is about getting people off the street, but it's also about creating a climate of deterrence that recognises that this is not hijinks, this is serious crime, and that people will face the full weight of the law when they are caught.
The city suffered from what police called out of control and astonishingly young children, not angry but greedy. Sporadic targeted attacks kept police on the move. Mobile phone stores and clothing shops were the main focus. It's not clear whether money was taken from this bank. Yvette Ward, who was injured in the 2005 Handsworth riots, had to take cover in a shop as it came under attack.
I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know why they have to carry on through a different city to another city. And there was children down here yesterday as well, you know, how do the kids feel?
And you see them boarding up behind you as well.
Yeah, it's going on everywhere. There's no need for it.
Thanks very much for coming along and do keep...
Teams of volunteers helped with the clean-up and Birmingham battened down. By late afternoon, people were vacating the city centre.
This is really, really, really terrible. This is really terrible. We can't condone this type of behaviour whatsoever.
I don't understand the mentality of the people that do this at all. To me, they're just out to get things themselves, their phones, their televisions. I can't see any reason to it at all.
Oh, just scum, aren't they? They're not. They're just on the knock all the time, and that's all they're interested in, like, you know.
Many parts of the city centre are now crime scenes. The big effort now is to make sure that there are no more through this evening. David Crabtree, Sky News, Birmingham.
Darren Little joins me now live from the heart of Birmingham, and already I gather you're getting reports that there may be an unsettled scene in and around Birmingham?
Yes, in fact, I can say more than that. The police have confirmed within the last 30 seconds or so that there has been disorder in West Bromwich and Wolverhampton this evening. And right by where we were, in the centre of town, a number of police officers have run to their police vans, put the riot gear on, and they have sped off with their sirens going. They won't be off to Wolverhampton and West Bromwich. It's too far away from the centre here. They would deploy from other areas for that. So I think we can take it that there may well be other disorder here in the city of Birmingham tonight. The last thing they wanted, clearly everyone here has been appealing for calm, blocking up the shops, the windows, and trying to do their very best to dissuade people from coming out again. The police have got 500 officers on duty tonight. They said they're well equipped to cope with this. Well, they are being tested even early on this evening.
Darren, thanks very much for the moment. The Prime Minister's condemned, as you may well have heard, the scenes as sickening scenes of looting and robbing on the streets of the capital and elsewhere, and he's warned that anyone old enough to be involved is old enough to feel the full force of the law. Well, let's bring in the Education Secretary, Michael Gove, joins me from Westminster. Very good evening to you.
Good evening.
Clearly, the country is looking for very strong leadership. Is your government offering it right now?
Yes, I think the Prime Minister's been crystal clear. It's a straightforward conflict between right and wrong. What we have on our streets, what we saw last night, were organised criminal gangs who were intent, as we've just seen, on looting. They were operating on a principle of greed. And what we need to see is the robust policing that the Chief Constable in the West Midlands was promising, delivered on our streets. We're going to have 16,000 police officers on London streets tonight. They're there to make sure that the law-abiding are protected. And they've also been told direct by the Prime Minister, and the Met Commissioner, Acting Met Commissioner, completely appreciates, understands and agrees with this, that the aim tonight is not just to maintain order, but to pursue those people who've been making our lives a misery.
As I speak to you, we're showing on the screen along with you a shot of a car on fire in Croydon with firemen trying to put it out. It appears that it has started again, perhaps not as early as yesterday, but the imperative now, presumably, is to get this under control very fast to restore confidence in the police, confidence in democracy, confidence in government.
Well, the imperative is to make sure that people who've committed crimes are arrested, that they're in court, that they're punished and jailed. We have criminality on our streets. We saw it last night in London and, as you've pointed out, in other cities. The answer is relatively straightforward. We need to ensure that the police are given the resources and the backup that they need, and they are there in sufficient numbers to put these people behind bars. It's a straightforward criminal justice and civil order issue, which requires a straightforward response, which the police, I know, are determined to give tonight.
A lot has been made, and you will, I'm sure, be continually asked about whether the politicians, you political leaders, got back early enough to show your faces and show that you meant business and show that you were offering leadership to a country that is certainly bemused, probably angry, and no doubt still somewhat fearful about what they're seeing on their streets.
I quite understand, and I know that there have been many people who will have been shocked, as I was, to watch last night the escalation in violence and to recognise that we were witnessing a scale and a level of criminality that I don't think any of us could have anticipated was likely to occur and to come out of this summer. But we've seen decisive leadership from our Prime Minister today at the Cobra meeting. He asked the Metropolitan Police and others, did they have the resources, did they have the support, did they have the technical backup, did they have the legislative weapons required in order to deal with this? And the Met and the Association of Chief Police Officers were there clearly determined to ensure that they used that support to bring order back to our streets.
As the nation's Education Secretary, I'm sure you're probably more painfully aware than most that most of those causing the trouble out on the streets are probably of school age or pretty close to it, and there have certainly been suggestions from many of those in the communities we've spoken to today who say that one of the reasons for this is a failure in education.
Well, I think the failure ultimately is the failure of the part of those criminals to recognise the difference straightforwardly between right and wrong. And ultimately, when it comes down to it, there are individuals who are prepared to loot and to steal. There are individuals who are prepared to undermine the livelihood of others, who are showing contempt for hard work and the values by which the overwhelming majority of Britons live. And the response, ultimately, shouldn't be to try to, to relativise or to make excuses for these people. The response should be to arrest them and to put them in prison. Because the most important thing at a time like this is to restore the principles of order on which a civilised society rests. And therefore the single most important thing is, yes, to teach people a lesson. And that lesson is that crime should never pay.
Michael Gove, Education Secretary, thank you very much for joining us this evening. So, as you've